my gosh. You know, I had to sleep a little later because I got to bed later than I planned last night, and I knew I needed to go to sleep because I had to do the message today. But you know what I didn't get done? I didn't get done that email to my realtor about that house that I've got for sale on the beach. But you know, I need to get centered. I need to get centered because I'm giving the message today. Ever start your mornings like this? I've got on this. It's turned off? Okay. Okay. So the title today is Building the Muscles of Divine Order. And I'm going to give us all share some handy dandy tools to create that in our lives. But first, let's talk about divine order. Divine means of the nature of God. And order, the elements of divine order are OBSA, O-B-S-A, order, balance, sequence, and adjust. Now, Reverend Victoria started 2 weeks ago with telling us about the order of the universe. That if something had been 1/1,000,000th of a degree off of something, the Big Bang wouldn't have happened, and the universe wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be here. 1/1,000,000th. Because the universe and all the existence began with an idea in God's mind, and then God had to create order to make it happen. God had to do this big order. So some people think it's the first of the divine powers. A brilliant young friend of mine, I have a group that we do a little gratitude text first thing in the morning. And she's just fallen in love, and she's brilliant. So here was her gratitude text for the morning, and it's worth reading. At the beginning of human history, the odds of that specific man meeting that specific woman and that specific sperm fertilizing that specific egg on and on, generation after generation, for 2 million years, those odds of my ever having come into existence were 1 in 10 to the 47,000th power. That's 1 in 10 with 47,000 zeros behind it. We have a greater odds of winning the lottery every day than of standing here right now, of being here right now. You were meant to be here right now. I was meant to be here right now. Our ancestors were meant to be here before us. So, well, the universe is so big. So today I thought I'd bring it home a little. And from the grand to the local, how do we create order in our daily lives? I have some handy-dandy practical tools to share with you. I was inspired by an interview with a man during the 9/11 celebration on TV. And this was one of the first responders. He wasn't on duty. He was just a first responder up in New Jersey, and he heard about it, and he drove down, and he worked for days and days and days nonstop at the ground zero. And in the process, an 800 or 8,000 pound beam fell on his foot, and he lost his foot. And he was still so upbeat. And in an interview, he said this thing that really inspired me. He said, you know, there's that saying that you only live once. Well, that's a lie. We only die once, but we live every day. So what can we do to make this precious life as full and divinely inspired as we can? Well, here are some things that are true. Because we're created in the image of God, we also have our own individual piece of that divine order. That divine order that created the universe. Everything in it. We've got our piece of that. What, you say? I sure don't feel that way when I wake up in the morning to a challenging day. May have got to have a difficult conversation with somebody or a big project. Or one morning several months ago, I found out the house I had for sale had flooded just before we were about to put it on the market. What divine order in the universe? A Course in Miracles tells us that the chaotic thoughts are all lies. This came to me, it was the A Course in Miracles message over the last 2 weeks while I was preparing this message. I thought, thank you, A Course in Miracles. Thank you, Divine Order, for delivering this to me. So all the chaotic thoughts in our mind are lies. Order is truth. Our capacity to create order and to do the will of the divine of us in our life is our decision, our choice to make. So are we going to make that choice every day or not? Want to live happy, might be a good idea too. This is to be distinguished from order on the outside. I grew up in a house, my mother was a home economics major. And the beds had to be perfectly made, and everything had to look right all the time. Well, Paul Hasselbeck reminds us that insisting that everything be on order coming from the outside realm is a bit obsessive. It is obsessive, and he calls it even anal. Okay? So we don't want to be that. We want to start with ordering on the inside this morning. No, not this morning. Actually, it happened this morning. But some mornings, the divine order is not to make up my bed. Other things take priority, and I never thought I'd outlive making my bed no matter what. Anyway, so do you want some tools and practices to help with divine order in your life? Unity has 5 principles, and I'm going to squash them together a little bit. But it says that after we realize that we have the power of the divine, and we realize that about everybody, and we contact that power in us, and we know that our thoughts determine our life. Once we do all that, the 5th step is to take action. So taking action is building our muscles. So I'm going to start. You have a handout in your bulletin, and it's 2-sided, and the first one looks like this. Suggested routine for creating daily order. This came from a neuro-wisdom course that I took online with this amazing man named Mark, what was his name? Mark Waldman. And he's done about 35 years of neurological research on what helps us become enlightened and what are wise things that we can do that help our brains support us in that journey. I first came across him when I came across this little book called How God Changes Your Brain. And he had started doing some research. Actually, I was in another church where they weren't so big on diversity, and I was trying to promote some diversity. And so basically they started out, he and a colleague started out doing some research to prove that meditation is hoo-ha. It's like not all this big deal, all this hype about meditation. So they started doing research in meditation, and it totally turned them around. They found out, oh yes, within 4 to 6 weeks, meditation can produce positive neurological changes. So he's a real gift to us, and I want to share one of his daily routine gifts, and I've tweaked this a little, but here you go. Okay. So if we wake up with negative thoughts about the day, remind yourself we've got these tools. Like, that's what I did this morning. Okay, Pat, listen to your message. You've got the tools. Okay? And starting with gratitude is a really good idea. I usually put on some of Karen Drucker's music. Yes, and find myself gratitude, dancing as I make my bed and whatever. And then grab your coffee and get your journal. And write in your journal down those fears and worries and excitements, everything. Unity does, although we're positive and affirmative, it does not want us to deny those negative emotions, worry, doubt. And what we do when we write them in our journal is it gets them outside of us so that the journal can hold them. And also it helps us when we go to one of the next steps to get clear about what we're releasing and therefore what we want to affirm in the affirmative prayer process that Reverend Victoria talked about last week. So write down your values for the day. I'm going to share a little of mine. My value for this day, and this is just a kind of one line. You can write down one thing or just several things. Wisdom, love, joy, and an adventurous life. That was my values for today. Okay? And then you write down your goals for the day, things you want to accomplish. And then you turn those into a list. You can even prioritize the things on the list, and yet I want you to remember to throw in your organic energy. There's some research that says that things have a 90% greater chance of happening if we write them down. And let's see. Oh yeah, and sometimes I prioritize, and I'll have like time to do like the first two things that are priority, and my body will say, I am not up for that right now. I do have some energy to do this thing on the number 2 priority. And then, so it's good to remember that the root word of organize is organic. So first of all, organically, we have this RNA, DNA to order because we're made in the image of God, and we also can listen to our bodies and what they have to tell us. Okay, then I left this out after number F. Write down affirmation. After your goals, write down affirmations. And I'm going to be bold enough to read mine for today because the first song that came on Karen Drucker's Pandora station was the one, and I'd never heard this before from Karen Drucker, where she was singing, and that wonderful quote that's attributed to Marianne Williamson about our greatest fear is not that we're too little, our greatest fear is that we're scared of our magnificence, some version of that. So I'm going to be bold with my affirmation for today, which is, I am earnest. Oh yeah, this as I was writing down my worries, this quote came on the email that was the quote for today, and it says, if a person is earnest, they have no fear about the outcome. So that helped me drop my fears today. So I used it in my affirmation. I am earnest. I am wisdom. I am smashing in delivering the divinely inspired message at UCP. Now, I'm using those words. It's a little bold to say it because I want to inspire you to claim your magnificence. So I wrote, I'm smashing. I love doing it, and actually I'm having a good time right now. I am joy and wisdom, and I have embodied the divine of all, and that I have embodied. The divine of all this flows through me as a gift to those present. That was my affirmation today. So then, after you write down your goals and write down your affirmation, then we can go right into affirmative prayer, because now we're really clear what we want to release and what we want to do, and we sit in the silence and we hear whatever comes from that. The thing God told me in my meditation just now is, oh yeah, Pat, you can relax now. You can relax, okay? Optional in this, sometimes is some time in nature to see how the order of nature is a mirror of us. Also, it has been research approved, if you're taking a walk and you can say your affirmations out loud with zeal, research has shown that they're more effective. Saying them aloud, this came from Paul Hasselbeck in his manifestation Metaphysics 3 course. Okay. So, let's see, I think that's it. Oh yeah, and then get up and get on with it. Number 5, the action step. Okay. So then I want to share with you another handy dandy tool, and this is for organizing larger projects. Sometimes I use it to organize my whole life. Sometimes I use it for one thing. Up at the top is, I'm just going to give you a brief outline of how I use this to organize about my health. Some of you may know that I've been in a journey in relationship with anemia of undiagnosed origin for about 2 years. And it started out, low normal hemoglobin is 12. Mine started out with a hemoglobin of 5.4. And so I've been on this journey. So I needed to really focus my divine order on how I was going to work in my own healing. So first, you write down the data. This is on the other side of your handout. And there are 3 parts of the data. One are the facts. So the facts is the diagnosis I wrote down. And I did go through a period where I was aware of the possibility that my life and quality of the life could be shortened and diminished. So I wrote that. And I also, because I was going, well, should I get a second opinion, blah, blah, blah. I had to remind myself that several of my well-respected medical colleagues said, your hematologist is fantastic. No need for a second opinion, okay? So then you write down the subjective data. And those are our feelings and emotions. So I had to write down, you know what, I'm a little scared. Yeah, I'm scared. And in that fear, I also had to notice that there was an impulse to grab. You know, there's so many alternative healing. Oh, let me do a little this, let me do a little this, let me do. And I knew that was coming from a place of desperation, not from God's power of wisdom and discernment. So I had to write that down. I had to note that impulse so I could let it go. Spiritual data. I am made in the image of God. And one of God's powers, and therefore my power, is perfect health. Perfect divine health, wholeness, and vitality. I had to remind myself of that spiritual data fact. And the other thing is, oh yeah, I know that power of affirmative prayer, and I'm going to put in a plug for Reverend Victoria's workshop. That's the most powerful thing, one of the most powerful things I've gotten since I came to Unity. So then I wrote down my goal. By the time we write all down those things, a goal can get pretty simple. So my goal is to claim and return to perfect health, to claim it and return it. Then we write down the approaches. That turns into our to-do list. Release any thoughts that interfere with this goal. Use my intuition, my power of wisdom and discernment to choose which of all the approaches available are right for me. So I decided, what came to me is I did a shamanic healing with Oswaldo. And then a type of meditation that Paul Hasselbeck had recommended in our manifestation course when I asked him, well, what do you got for healing? So I decided to check out this form of echo meditation. I want to put a plug. Dawson Churches wrote a book, Bliss Brain. Yes, mine. My hemoglobin started climbing way past the time when the medical stuff should have made a difference when I started the eco meditation. Look it up, Bliss Brain, okay? And then I asked Pat Venema, I went and had a session with her, and because she worked at Unity Prayer, and she really is good with fine-tuning those affirmations. So she helped me with an affirmation that I also write down every day in my journal, okay? So there is the process for dealing with things. I use this, I was away, I just took time out for 5 weeks, and when I got back, it's like I was starting a new chapter of my life. I'm starting seminary in November, full-time, second year. I'm moving next month, so I took the sections of my life, my personal life, my work and service in the world life, my financial life, my house, car maintenance, that kind of thing, I just take each of those and run them through this. It really helps. And then I make a list, and I've got my marching orders, okay? So it's your turn. Second half of this handout. Pick a project or a piece of your life that you want to work on. It could be something big or something little. It could be like, I want a new job. That's a big thing. Or I'm not happy in my job, so let me do some work around that. Or it could be a little thing like, I want better health, or I want to lose weight, or I want to learn to balance my life. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I did that one a lot at some period in my life, okay? So pick a project. If you got a pen, you want to pick a project, you can write it down. You can think it if you don't have a pen. And then write down the facts. Just write a few of the objective facts. Could be, let's see, there's some jobs available out there with the pandemic. Some of the jobs have been emptied. I've been at this job for a while. Mary's going to hand out some pins, I guess. I thought we had some in our seat back, but maybe not. Okay. Write down some facts. I've tried to lose weight before, so I need to do something different or go back to the old things that I didn't do. Yeah, and then write down your feelings. Oh, I feel dismayed about this. Or I feel kind of excited when I see myself in a new job. I'm a little scared to leave the safety of my former job. Write down some of the feelings that go with your project. Just make these brief. You can expound on them when you get home and bullet them now. And next, write down some spiritual truths. Write down the spiritual truths. I am power. I am will. I am wisdom. I've been through hard times before. I've been scared before, and when I acted on my excitement, I moved through my fear. Or affirmative prayer works. Write down some spiritual truths. And with this information, the goal may get clarified. My goal is to find balance in my life. My goal is to explore jobs that might be available. My goal is to see how my current job might be more satisfactory. My goal is to survey the field. Whatever your goal is, write down your goal. Hopefully it's simple by this time. It's simple and clear. And let God's wisdom and guidance inform you as you write down your goal. And then after that, write down 2 or 3 steps. You can do more when you get home, but write down 2 or 3 steps you're going to take. It could be the tiny steps. I'll start talking out loud with zeal when I do my daily walk. I'll start a daily walk, even if it's 5 minutes. Just 2 or 3 approaches. And you can expand on these if you want when you get home. Okay, take another 30 seconds and finish up for now. And then put your list aside. And I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath. And with the exhale, release anything about any thoughts or feelings about this project, anything that doesn't serve you. Feel them flowing with your breath all the way out through, down your body and out through the bottoms of your feet. And now, as you continue to breathe deeply, see yourself doing 1 or 2 or 3 things on your approach list. On your approaches, on your list, what'll I do? See how you look doing these things. Feel how it feels to be doing these things. Hear how you sound if you're speaking or if you're talking even to yourself or if you're doing your affirmations out loud with zeal. And then release that and see yourself having accomplished your goal. Once again, see how you look. Feel how it feels to be there. See how you sound. Really take this into your body. Really take this into your body, your mind, and your heart. And now, open your eyes. You've got your marching orders from the divine of you, so get on with it. Chris has got some marching orders.